Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. If you've been out of the loop for the last few days, Andrade and Charlotte Flair have been the focus of wrestling news lately, with Andrade being granted his release from WWE this past Sunday, and Charlotte mysteriously disappearing from our TV screens, and more interestingly, the WrestleMania advertising where she had previously been plastered all over it. There was some speculation online that the two events were actually linked, with Charlotte's absence being because of tensions with WWE over her fiancé's release. Reputable sources like Sean Ross Sapp, however, denied this was true, and now Charlotte herself has clarified the situation on Twitter, saying, "I know everyone has been wondering where I've been. I tested positive for COVID and have been home resting. Thank you everyone for your love." This is interesting for several reasons. Firstly, there were reports from Dave Meltzer that WWE were trying to keep the situation with Charlotte quiet, with his sources avoiding him on that one. And secondly, Charlotte publicly addressing this seems to fly in the face of WWE's wishes for their wrestlers to keep this sort of thing quiet. AJ Styles reportedly had heat last summer when he mentioned that he tested positive on his Twitch stream, and Renee Young confirmed that she actually had heat with the company when she announced her positive test. Andrade also spoke of Flair's situation on Twitter, saying that it would be 4 more days and you're clear, meaning that she should, in theory, be back in time for WrestleMania. But you would have thought that WWE would have known this and not removed her from the posters if that was the case. Though, in fairness, she could always just come back and insert herself into the Raw Women's title match and make it a triple threat. You know, the classic Charlotte move. On a more serious note, we here at WrestleTalk do wish a speedy recovery to Charlotte Flair. Meanwhile, after publicly confirming that he'd asked for his release a couple of weeks ago, Andrade was officially released from his WWE contract shortly after Fastlane. This, of course, sparked a lot of conversation between fans about what's next for Andrade, and as it turns out, we won't have to wait that long. According to a report from Dave Meltzer, sources close to the situation confirmed that Andrade's release from WWE does not include a 90-day non-compete, so he'd be able to start taking dates immediately. For what it's worth, Sean Ross Sapp over at Fightful is saying that he hasn't heard this and heard that he does in fact have a 90-day non-compete clause, so there are conflicting reports going around. Be sure to check out WrestleTalk.com for more information as the story develops. And it wasn't just Andrade getting released that happened at Fastlane, as we also saw the breakup of Retribution. I think. Reckoning and Slapjack walked out on their leader Mustafa Ali while Mason T-Bar hit the double choke slam on him, but there was no follow-up to this on Raw, so, yeah? I think they're broken up now? And according to Wrestling Inc., the breakup wasn't actually supposed to happen at Fastlane, but was initially planned for WrestleMania. As previously reported, Ali has been working with a torn PCL since December, and despite being told that he needed surgery following the Royal Rumble, the idea that had been pitched to the group was that if Ali was willing to work through the injury and keep the group going for the time being, there would be some big blow-off with Retribution disbanding at WrestleMania 37. So, thinking he'd get his big Mania moment, Ali agreed and worked through his injury. And then they just did it at Fastlane instead. On the kickoff show. Cheers, Ali. Thanks for putting your body through so much stress in order to give this group a much-needed story hook. Here's a Fastlane angle for you on the kickoff show that no one will remember. This company. Now, you may have noticed that I am in fact not Mr. Davis, because he's off this week preparing for our hair versus points match at WrestleJamia that was made official on yesterday's WrestleTalk podcast review of Fastlane. And while Mr. Davis thinks that it was me that blew him up, I intend to prove my innocence, and I will do that by finding the son of a botch that blew Mr. Davis up. In fact, I've got my next suspect on the phone right now. Andy Datson, did you blow up Mr. Davis?
No. Holla holla.
Oh. Well, anyway, it's time for my review of the "oh crap, there's only 19 days until WrestleMania, we'd better book some matches" edition of Monday Night Raw in about 5 minutes. Raw opened with a rematch of last week's main event where Bobby Lashley defeated Sheamus in another really good match. Unlike last week, however, the rest of the Hurt Business came out to ringside to cause some distractions, which neither Lashley or MVP liked. They chewed out Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin backstage, which led to them challenging Drew McIntyre to a handicap match later in the show, where if they lost, they would be banned from ringside at WrestleMania. Even though it appears that neither Lashley or MVP actually want them at ringside. Anyway, they lost that match, and then Lashley seemingly looked for some assistance at ringside by offering up a chance at the WWE Championship to the catering crew if they took out Drew before WrestleMania. This all felt a bit muddled. I'm really not into the idea of Hurt Business breaking up or having infighting when they've been consistently one of the best acts on Raw. I'd much rather them be a united front going against McIntyre at Mania. I also thought there might be something in Drew McIntyre saving Sheamus from a beatdown after his match, but then he seemingly started a Mania program with Matt Riddle over the United States Championship, which I've already seen. But when Drew and Bobby went face to face and things started really cooking, I did get a pang of excitement about their Mania match. All of the elements for this to be good are there. I'm just not sure they're all in the right place at the moment. Speaking of all the elements being there but not exactly in the right place, Charlotte Flair returned to WWE in December and won the Women's Tag Team Championships with her best friend Asuka. Remember that? Which was done to seemingly set up a Mania feud between the two. But then WWE decided to go with Lacey Evans instead, with her set up to win the Raw Women's Championship from Asuka at Elimination Chamber before she announced that she was pregnant. So then they went back to the plan of Flair versus Asuka, but with Flair's announcement of testing positive for COVID, plans have changed again. The problem is, WWE have spent the last few months building Evans and Flair at the detriment of the rest of the division. Asuka hasn't had a proper feud or storyline since Banks and Bayley last summer. So, to their enormous credit, WWE hit the reset button and tried to make a new start out of Peyton Royce this week, who hasn't won a singles match on Raw since last September. Asuka and Royce had a great match, which really put over the former Iconic as a potential future challenger for Asuka with a bit more build. The other big reset button was Rhea Ripley, after rumblings that she wasn't actually going to debut on Raw until after Mania. But the Flair situation seemingly has fast-forwarded those plans and she debuted here instead. So what was her big story? She just challenged Asuka to a match and Asuka said okay. Cool story, bro. I'm glad that Rhea debuted and is going into a main event title picture, but was this really the best they could come up with? Just a brief chat and then a match was made? Like, there was way more intrigue in the Shayna Baszler angle last week, but they just moved on from that onto something else. Speaking of plans changing, Miz also challenged Bad Bunny to a match at WrestleMania, beat Jeff Hardy quickly, and then Bad Bunny accepted. So despite reports that it would be Miz and Morrison versus Bad Bunny and Damian Priest in a tag match to get Priest over, it's now just a singles match to get Bad Bunny over? Huh? Thankfully, there was some great wrestling on this show, and we got more of that next. AJ Styles and Kofi Kingston had a great match to build their WrestleMania tag team program. It was filled with counters and counters and all round just great wrestling. AJ had the match won, but Xavier was distracted him with the trombone to allow Kofi to pick up the win. I wish more had been made of that because outside of the Gauntlet match, that was AJ's first pinfall loss since he moved to Raw in October, which was actually sort of Styles' gimmick for a bit. But do you know what? The match was really good and I am into this feud. What I'm less into though is Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke once again failing to capture the Women's Tag Team Championships from Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. They failed in November, failed again in December, failed again in January, and failed again here in March. Like, how could you possibly care about this journey? And it's not helped by Lana and Naomi, who lost to Jackson Baszler in 10 minutes just a few weeks ago, challenging the champs to yet another match. And to make matters worse, bloody Reginald was out there to do some flips. He does flips now, I guess. The women's tag team scene is just spinning its wheels at the moment, and Reginald really isn't helping that. Shane McMahon debuted his new mid-card of evil of Elias and Jackson Ryker on Raw to essentially just repeat the angle they did at Fastlane. Braun quickly beat Elias with the running power slam and his constantly erect nipples, and then challenged Shane to a WrestleMania match, which Shane accepted. The only thing noticeable about this, other than the WrestleMania match of course, is that WWE have added train sound effects when Braun runs around the ring. Like proper choo 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 train sound effects. It's very silly and I very much laughed. I do not choose this to be a recurring gimmick. And the main event of the show was reserved for the spooky follow-up to The Fiend's crispy return at Fastlane, with Randy Orton coming out to apparently summon him, even though it was Bliss that brought him out in the end. Orton said that it only feels like yesterday that he burnt the Fiend alive at TLC. I watch this show week to week, Randy. I can tell you it doesn't. He poured some more gasoline onto the Fiend, who just stood there, hit an RKO on him, and then the Fiend popped up to hit Sister Abigail as Alexa Bliss pointed at the WrestleMania sign. They made the match official, but didn't announce a Firefly Funhouse stip. Look, Mr. Davis has said his piece and all this, and I feel like I have as well on the WrestleTalk podcast. It's just not for me. All three of them are doing good character work, don't get me wrong, the story just isn't connecting with me. Even if the Fiend does look like a cross between Chucky at the end of Child's Play and Chucky at the end of Child's Play 3, which I personally do think is quite cool. So that was this week's Raw in about 5 minutes. What did you think of the show? Let me know in the comments down below. This was a panic edition of Raw, as we're now just under 3 weeks away from WrestleMania and very little to it has been built. Some of the women's division rebuilding was good. The Drew versus Bobby stuff was mostly good, and AJ versus Kofi was a lot of fun, but yeah, there was an awful lot of meh on this show. So I guess this Raw is a solid 3 out of 5 average. Myself and El Fagador Laurie Blake will be reviewing the show in depth on the WrestleTalk podcast channel. Luke, what's coming up on that show?
Coming up on the WrestleTalk podcast channel today, myself and Laurie Blake will be reviewing the show in full, going through all of those WrestleMania matches that were announced. Plus, we'll be getting your thoughts on the show and so much more. That's the WrestleTalk podcast channel today, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. GMT. We'll see you there.
Thanks, Luke, and you can set your reminder for that show by clicking the video on screen right now over on the WrestleTalk podcast channel. And do check out Ollie's review of Fastlane by clicking the video below that. I have been Luke Owen. Jam that jam.